The noise behind the wallset started with the sound of laughter. Not the kind of laughter that made your heart feel warm, but the kind that came in sharp bursts through the tall hedges and concrete walls. It was nearly midnight. The stars were out. The air in Beverly Hills was calm. But from the far end of Keanu Reeves' backyard, something didn't feel right. Keanu had just wrapped a long day of filming. He was tired. His legs ached, the kind of ache that didn't come from stunts or fights, but from the silence of pretending everything was okay. Because deep down, he missed his mother. He missed peace, and above all, he missed trust. Trust in the world. Trust in people. As he sat by his kitchen window sipping chamomile tea, he heard it again. Splashes, whispers, giggles, like shadows dancing in water. He stood up quietly. He didn't want to alarm them, whoever them was. He walked barefoot, across the marble floor, toward the back patio. The house was dim. He had kept the lights low on purpose. He liked the quiet, the soft glow of candles, the hum of the night. But now, all of that felt violated. He slid the glass door open. The wind kissed his face, and there it was, 3 teenagers, soaking wet, jumping into his pool like they owned it, laughing, taking selfies, spraying water at each other. Not a hint of shame. He didn't shout. He didn't even step forward. He just watched. One of them noticed him, a boy, maybe 17. He froze, mid-cannonball. The others turned. The girl on the floaty slipped off in surprise. Another boy cursed under his breath. Keanu spoke softly. "This is private property." His voice was low, calm, not angry, but not welcoming either. The girl looked nervous. She was wearing a torn sweatshirt, her jeans soaked and heavy. "We're sorry, we thought no one lived here," the second boy added quickly. "We didn't take anything. We just wanted to swim. It's hot." Keanu sighed. "Where are your parents?" They didn't answer. The girl looked away. The first boy suddenly looked small, like a kid caught stealing cookies. Keanu took a deep breath and turned around. "Dry off and leave. Don't come back." He didn't say it out of anger. He said it with a strange kind of tiredness, a tiredness of being watched, of being expected to always be kind, always be patient, even when people didn't deserve it. But as he shut the door behind him, something in his chest pulled tight. He couldn't sleep that night. The next morning, he walked to the edge of the pool. It looked like nothing had happened. The water was clear, no towels left behind, no cans or wrappers, but on the edge of a chair, tucked under the cushion, was a small spiral notebook. Its cover was wet, faded blue. He picked it up. Inside were scribbled poems, songs, little stories, things written by someone who clearly wanted to escape. On one of the pages, in shaky handwriting, it said, "I just wanted to feel what it's like to be rich for a few minutes. I'm sorry." He read it twice. And just like that, his heart softened. Over the next week, the pool visits didn't stop. It happened again and again, always at night, sometimes to kids, sometimes 4, once even 6. At first, he was irritated, not because they were loud, not because they trespassed, but because they didn't seem to understand. This wasn't just a house. It was a place he had built with memories, with pain, with love. It was where he cried when he lost his best friend, where he stayed alone during lockdown, where he meditated to stay sane. It was his one safe place, and they were treating it like a public park. One night, he finally decided enough was enough. He stayed up, dressed in black, and waited behind the bushes. When they climbed over the fence, he stepped out. The lights came on, bright floodlights he hadn't used in years. "Freeze," he said. They stopped in their tracks. They looked terrified. 2 girls, 3 boys, all teenagers, all drenched in sweat and fear. "I called the police," he said, though he hadn't. One boy whispered, "Please don't." Another girl began crying. "We didn't mean harm. We just don't have anywhere fun to go." Keanu walked closer, then asked, "Don't sneak. Don't steal moments that don't belong to you." A silence stretched. One of the boys stepped forward. "We didn't think you'd understand." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "Why?" The boy shrugged. "You're famous, rich, different." Keanu let out a dry laugh. Not from humor, but from disbelief. He looked at them carefully now. Their clothes were old, shoes torn. One girl wore a hoodie with holes. They weren't here for thrill. They were here because the world had given them little. And for a few minutes in a stranger's pool, they could pretend their life was something else. Keanu said nothing more. He just pointed to the gate. They left quietly. But that night, he didn't feel victorious. He felt hollow. Because what kind of world did we live in, where kids had to climb fences to taste peace? The next day, he called his security team, but not to install more alarms. He gave a different instruction, one that would shock the kids the next time they tried to sneak. And yes, there would be a next time, but none of them were ready for what they were about to face. The gate was open. It had been for nights, for long, silent nights. No splashes, no whispers, no midnight giggles. It was almost disappointing. Keanu Reeves stood by the kitchen window, staring out at the empty pool, not because he missed the trespassing, but because something about the silence now felt heavier than before. He had made a decision, not out of anger, but out of something deeper. Something that tugged at the part of him that remembered what it felt like to be lost, to not belong, to feel invisible. So he did something different. He left the side gate unlocked. He left a dim light on in the backyard, and on the poolside table, he left 5 towels, clean, folded, with a small note: if you're going to come in, at least dry off properly. Kay wasn't sure they would return. Maybe they were scared. Maybe they thought it was a trap. Or maybe they had already learned their lesson. But on the 5th night, just past midnight, he heard it. The creak of the side gate. He didn't move. He waited, listening closely. Footsteps, soft and uncertain. Whispers, a nervous giggle. He peeked from behind the curtain. There they were, 3 of them this time. The same girl who cried last time, the boy with the quiet voice, and a new girl, short, wearing a backpack, barefoot. They stopped when they saw the towels. "What's this?" the boy asked. The first girl read the note. Her hands were shaking. "He left these for us?" The new girl whispered. "Maybe he's watching." The boy looked around. "Maybe it's a test." They sat down on the edge of the pool, not jumping in, not splashing, just quiet, still, respectful. Keanu watched. Something softened in him. He opened the sliding door gently and stepped out. They all froze. But instead of yelling, he walked past them and sat down on a chair nearby, silent, relaxed. After a long pause, the boy spoke. "We're sorry. We shouldn't have come back." Keanu replied calmly. "Yet here you are," the new girl said. "We didn't mean to be rude. We didn't think someone like you would even notice." Keanu looked at her. "What do you mean, someone like me?" She hesitated. "You're famous, rich. We thought you'd be gone, or have cameras or something. We just needed a place to breathe." Keanu nodded slowly. "So you chose a stranger's home to breathe?" The girl looked down. "We don't have pools or safe places. My mom works night shifts. There's shouting at home. Sometimes it's easier to pretend we live in a different world," the boy added. "This place, it feels safe." Keanu leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "When I was younger," he began, "I used to sneak into an old theater downtown. Not to cause trouble, just to sit in the dark and escape. I didn't have much. No one knew who I was. I wasn't famous, just a kid, trying to find peace." They listened, surprised. "One night," he continued, "the owner caught me. But instead of yelling, he gave me a seat, said if I was going to stay, I might as well do it right." He looked at them carefully. "So, if you're going to keep sneaking into my pool, at least don't act like thieves. Ask, speak, respect it." They sat in stunned silence. Then the boy asked, "Are you serious?" Keanu nodded. "There are rules, though. You follow them, or you don't come back." He stood up and went inside. He came back with a tray of lemonade and a small speaker. He placed them gently on the table beside them. "First rule," he said, "no glass near the pool. Second rule, no social media posts. Third rule, if you see a mess, clean it." They nodded. Still speechless, he sat back down. The night stretched on. No loud music, no cannonballs, just gentle laughter, soft music, and the occasional splash for The first time, they weren't trespassing. They were guests, invited. And Keanu, though still tired from life, felt something shift in his heart. Not because he had given permission, but because he had made a choice to understand, to connect, to forgive. The next few nights were peaceful, respectful. The kids came, swam quietly, cleaned up after themselves, and left no trace but footprints. On the wet stone, they started leaving thank you notes. Small things. Thank you for the lemonade. I got an A on my test today. This is the best night of my week. Keanu started keeping a box by the pool with fresh towels, water bottles, and small snacks. Not because he had to, but because something in him knew they needed it. But peace doesn't last forever. One night, things changed. He was out of town for a film shoot. Just 2 days. He trusted they would behave. But the neighbors did in single quotes he got a call. Mr. Reeves. Someone left the gate open. There's broken glass, loud music, shouting. I think those kids brought others. His heart sank. When he returned, he found it all just as described. Trash near the pool, a torn speaker wire, soda cans floating, towels missing, and worst of all, scratches on the side of his car. He felt crushed, not because of the damage, but because of the trust broken. He checked the camera footage. The original 3 weren't there. These were new kids, older, rougher. Someone must have told them. The secret had spread. He sat on the steps by the pool, staring into the water. It wasn't about the pool anymore. It was about boundaries, kindness, and how easily both could be stepped on. The 3 original kids showed up the next night. They froze when they saw the mess. We weren't here, the boy said quickly. We swear, said the girl, panic in her voice. We would never. Keanu didn't respond at first. He stood up slowly and said, I believed in you. And now, look, it wasn't us, the girl pleaded. Someone found out. They forced their way in. We tried to stop them, but they didn't listen. Keanu looked at them, his eyes heavy, tired. Sometimes, he said quietly, even when you mean well, the door you open invites people who don't. They stood in silence, hearts sinking. He picked up a broken piece of glass and tossed it in the trash. Then he turned to them. Tell me why I should still trust you. They didn't have an answer. But what happened next would not only test their loyalty, it would reveal something about one of them, something Keanu never saw coming. The secret she was hiding. Night felt colder than usual. The pool water was still, but the air between Keanu and the 3 kids was tense. The girl, her name was Maya, kept glancing at the broken speaker. The boy, Josh, stood with his hands in his pockets, shoulders stiff. The other girl, the new one who barely spoke, finally murmured something. It's my fault. Keanu turned to her. She looked down. Her voice trembled. I told my cousin. He said he just wanted to see it. I didn't know he'd bring others. I didn't know they'd drink. I'm sorry. Keanu nodded slowly. What's your name? He asked. Double quotes Lucy. He sat down on a lounge chair and motioned for them to sit. 2. I wanted to believe, he said, that this could be something pure, a small space for peace. But it only takes one bad moment to erase all the good. Lucy had tears in her eyes. We can clean it. We'll fix it. Maya stepped forward. We'll make it right. Keanu looked at them, not just their faces, but their eyes, scared. But honest. I'll give you one chance, he said. But you're going to earn it. They nodded quickly. Whatever it takes, said Josh. Keanu gave them a list. Clean the backyard. Fix the speaker wire. Repaint the scratched car fence. Return the missing towels. And most importantly, write a letter of apology to the neighbors who had complained. This isn't punishment, he said. This is how you rebuild trust. The next 3 days were different. Maya showed up first, with cleaning gloves and a garbage bag. Josh came with tools from his uncle's garage. Lucy brought paint and scrub brushes. They worked hard. They didn't ask for help. They didn't try to impress him. They just worked. And something changed. They stopped being the kids who snuck in. They started becoming something else. On the 3rd day, Keanu walked out with sandwiches and iced tea. He sat beside them as they painted the wooden edge of the deck. Why do you care so much? Lucy asked him softly. You could have just banned us. He took a sip of tea before answering. Because I've seen what happens when people stop giving others a second chance. The world gets harder, colder. I don't want to be part of that. Double quotes. Lucy nodded slowly. Thank you, she whispered. Maya was quiet. Too quiet. Keanu noticed she wasn't painting anymore. Just staring at the water. Everything okay? He asked. She looked startled, then smiled quickly. Yeah, just thinking. But later that evening, when the others had left, she stayed behind. Can I ask you something? She said. Keanu nodded. Why don't you have cameras all around your house? He raised an eyebrow. Why? It's just, this whole thing could have been avoided. He chuckled. I used to. Too many, actually. But after a while, I realized I didn't want to live being watched or always watching. I wanted to trust people. Maya bit her lip. She looked nervous. What if someone breaks that trust, badly? He tilted his head. Has someone broken yours? She didn't answer right away. Then she said something that made Keanu sit up. My brother. He used to live here. Keanu blinked. Here, not in this house, she said, but in this neighborhood. 5 years ago, before everything changed, she went on. Her brother had worked as a landscaper. He had mowed lawns in the area, sometimes even trimmed the hedges at Keanu's home. Though Keanu never noticed him, Maya had looked up to him, her big brother, always smiling, always helping neighbors. But one day, a rich man accused her brother of stealing tools. There was no proof, just suspicion, no trial, just rejection. He lost his job, and then their home. We moved out of the neighborhood in shame, Maya said. He started drinking. He's not the same anymore. She looked at Keanu. So when I first came back here, when I saw this house, this pool, it wasn't just about fun. It was about taking something back, feeling like we belonged again. Keanu didn't speak for a long time. Finally, he said, I'm sorry for what happened. Truly. Maya whispered, me too. And with that, they sat quietly, the sounds of the night soft around them. Sometimes silence can say more than words. Everwill, ***. The next week, everything seemed better. The yard was clean. The pool area looked perfect. The neighbors even sent a thank you note. Impressed by the apology and the kids' effort, Keanu felt like things were back on track. But one evening, just as the sun dipped below the trees, something strange happened. A man came to the gate. Not a teenager, not a neighbor. He was in his mid-30s, worn jeans, a hoodie with paint stains. He looked lost. Maya saw him first. She went pale. That's my brother. Keanu stood up slowly. The man looked at him, tired eyes, sunken cheeks. You Keanu Reeves? The man asked. Yeah, Keanu replied. The man took a deep breath. I heard what you've been doing for my sister. I just wanted to see who would even care. Maya rushed forward and hugged him. It was the first time Keanu saw her cry openly. The brother nodded at Keanu. I was wrong about people like you. Keanu shook his hand gently. Maybe we've all been wrong before. ***. But that was the last peaceful night for a while. Because the next morning, Maya didn't show up. Then 2 more days passed, and Lucy said something that chilled Keanu to the bone. Someone followed her after she left. Here, Keanu's jaw clenched. He thought this was just about kids and pools, but he had just stepped into something deeper. Something dangerous. And someone, maybe more than one person, wanted to make sure he regretted getting involved. ***. Footprints. In the dark, KeanuReeves stood still in the center of the backyard. The pool water shimmered under the morning sun, calm and innocent, as if it had no idea something was wrong. But he could feel it, deep in his chest, like a quiet warning. Maya hadn't shown up in 3 days. No text, no note, nothing. Lucy's voice still echoed in his mind. Someone followed her after she left here. He looked at Lucy and Josh now, sitting on the edge of the pool. Both looked scared, their shoulders tense. Lucy was picking at her fingernails. Josh stared at the ground. Did you see who it was? Keanu asked softly. Lucy nodded. A guy, tall, hoodie, same one who came that night when things got trashed. He wasn't part of our group, but he was watching her, yeah. And when she left, he waited like 2 minutes. Then he walked the same way. Keanu felt a cold knot in his stomach. He had met people like that before. Quiet shadows, People who didn't speak much, but watched it closely. He had once dealt with stalkers during his acting career, but this felt different. This wasn't about fame. It felt personal. And now Maya was missing. Keanu didn't waste time. He called someone he hadn't spoken to in over 5 years, Maria, a retired private investigator who had helped him once before. When someone had stolen from a charity he supported, she wasn't just good, she was discreet, and she knew how to find people who didn't want to be found. "This is urgent," he said. A young girl might be in danger. Within an hour, Maria was at his place. Small, sharp-eyed, always dressed in black. He handed her a photo of Maya he had taken during one of their cleanup days. She disappeared. Her friend said someone was following her. Maria didn't ask too many questions. She just nodded and got to work. She started with street cameras near Keanu's home, then visited the local bus station, checked hospital logs, ran public records, asked neighbors. Within 24 hours, she had a name, Clay Donovan, she said, age 32, 2 minor charges: trespassing, vandalism, lives in a motel 2 miles from here. Keanu clenched his jaw. Why was he near my house? Probably looking for something easy to take, or someone to scare. My guess, he saw the kids here, figured out it was a soft target. Keanu shook his head. He doesn't know who he's messing with. The motel was a run-down building with peeling paint and flickering lights. Maria went first. She had a way of blending in. Keanu waited. In the car, restless. 10 minutes later, Maria came back out, fast. Room 9. She's in there. Keanu was already moving. Wait, Maria warned. We don't know if he's armed. He has a kid in there. Keanu said sharply. I'm not waiting. What happened next was quiet but intense. Keanu knocked hard on the door. No. Answer. He knocked again. A voice inside. Go away. Maya. Keanu called. It's me. A pause. Then a muffled voice, weak and shaky. Keanu. He slammed his shoulder into the door. Once, twice. The third time, it flew open. Inside, the room smelled like sweat and old food. Maya was sitting on the bed, wrapped in a blanket. Her cheek was bruised. Clay stood frozen near the window, holding a beer bottle. Keanu stepped in, eyes blazing. Touch her again, he said calmly, and I'll make sure you never walk free again. Clay laughed. She's not your kid. She's someone, Keanu said, stepping closer. And that's enough. Clay raised the bottle. Maria was already behind him. Within seconds, she had him pinned to the floor. She pulled zip ties from her jacket and bound his wrists. Keanu rushed to Maya. Are you okay? She nodded weakly. He said if I didn't come with him, he'd hurt my brother. Keanu's face went pale. What? Maya explained everything. Clay used to work with her brother at the landscaping company. He got fired for stealing. He blamed Maya's brother. Ever since then, he'd stalked them quietly, waiting for the right moment. When he saw Maya hanging around Keanu's house, it was the perfect chance to get close again. He wanted to blackmail you, she whispered. He said he'd make it look like we were using you for money. Keanu's hands tightened into fists. Maria called the police. Clay was taken in quietly. No headlines, no drama. Just justice. Back at Keanu's home, Maya sat by the pool, sipping warm tea. Lucy and Josh joined her. They looked at her bruised cheek and red eyes and didn't ask questions. They just sat beside her. Keanu brought out a blanket and wrapped it around all 3 of them. You're safe now, he said, and you're not alone. Maya looked at him. Thank you. He smiled. You don't have to thank me. Just promise me something. What? One day, when you see someone else going through what you went through, you'll do the same. You'll step in. Maya nodded. I will. For a few weeks, things were quiet again, peaceful. Laughter returned to the backyard, but softer, more meaningful. The kids didn't treat the pool like a secret escape anymore. It had become a kind of home. Keanu had new lights installed, not to scare people off, but to make it feel safe. And he built a small wooden box near the garden with a sign that said, a place to leave your worries, write them down, let them go. The kids started using it. Sometimes the notes were silly. Sometimes they were heartbreaking. I'm scared of losing my mom. I wish school didn't make me feel stupid. I just want someone to say they're proud of me. Keanu Reeves. Everyone. He never signed his replies, but the kids always knew which ones were from him. ***, but just when things finally felt right, a letter arrived. Not handwritten. Not from a child. It was from a lawyer, and what it said would threaten to destroy everything they had built. The letter that changed everything. Keanu Reeves stood at the kitchen counter, the letter in his hands trembling slightly. The paper felt heavier than it should have. His eyes scanned the words, over and over, each sentence more bitter than the last. Cease and desist. Unauthorized use of residential property. Nuisance to the neighborhood. Possible legal action pending. He exhaled slowly and set the letter down. The sender was one of his neighbors, a man named Arthur Wendell, a retired investor, known for his neatly trimmed hedges, cold stares, and absolute silence at community meetings. Keanu had barely spoken to him in the 10 years they had been neighbors, but apparently, Arthur had been paying attention now. He wasn't angry about the pool. He was angry about the kids. Kids who didn't belong to this zip code. Kids who didn't look like they had drivers waiting for them outside. Kids who laughed a little too loud and stayed a little too late. Keanu leaned on the counter, his hands pressed against the cool granite, his jaw clenched. This wasn't about noise. This was about control, about appearances, about people who didn't want the world to change. He walked outside. The sun was starting to set, casting a warm gold across the backyard. The kids were there, sitting by the edge of the pool. Maya's cheek was healing. Josh had a guitar across his lap. Lucy was drawing on a sketchpad. They looked up when they saw his face. "What's wrong?" Maya asked immediately. Keanu forced a small smile. "Nothing you did," he said. "But there's something you should know." He told them about the letter, the threat, the warning. Josh sat up straight. "But why?" "Because someone thinks your presence here is a problem," Keanu said gently. "And now, legally, I have to respond." Lucy looked afraid. "Does this mean we can't come anymore?" Keanu looked at her, then at all of them. "I don't want to stop, but if I fight this, it might go public." He paused. "And if it goes public, people will talk. Reporters might show up. Your lives could get harder." Maya stood up. "I'm not afraid." Josh said, "Me neither." Lucy hesitated. I don't want to make things worse for you." Keanu knelt down by her. "You're not making anything worse. You're showing this world that kindness still matters." They sat in silence for a while. Then Keanu said, "Maybe it's time we stop hiding." The next morning, Keanu made a decision. He called his lawyer. He made a statement. And then, he wrote a letter of his own. He didn't send it to Arthur. He sent it to the entire neighborhood. He posted it on the local online board, mailed printed copies, and most importantly, he shared it publicly with his name on it. In that letter, he wrote, "I opened my backyard to 3 young people who were looking for peace. They didn't break anything. They didn't steal anything. They cleaned. They repaired. They showed me what resilience looks like. And if you think kindness is a crime, then take me to court." The post went viral. Not just in the neighborhood. Not just in Los Angeles. But across the internet. Keanu Reeves opened his backyard to kids in need, and one man threatened to sue him for it. People were furious. Others were inspired. Thousands of messages poured in, some from people who grew up like Maya, some from teachers, parents, even police officers. But the biggest surprise came from within the neighborhood. ***, a few days later, Keanu heard a knock at the front door. When he opened it, he saw her, Mrs. Ellis, the same woman who once stared at the kids with suspicion. She was holding a plate of cookies and a letter. "I must judge them," she said quietly. "I judged you. I'm sorry." Keanu took the cookies and smiled. "Thank you." She nodded toward the pool. "I think what you're doing matters, and I'm not the only one." Behind her stood 3 more neighbors, then 2 more after that, and before he knew it, there was a small crowd in his driveway, people holding signs that said, "Let the kids swim. Kindness is not a crime, and we stand with Keanu." The kids came outside. Shocked. Maya whispered. What's happening? Keanu grinned. Change. Asterisk. But not everyone was happy. Arthur Wendell filed the official complaint anyway. His lawyer insisted Keanu had created a pattern of public disturbance. A date was set for the hearing. The kids weren't invited, but they showed up anyway, standing outside the courthouse with small signs. Not loud, just present. Respectful. Keanu sat across from Arthur in the mediation room. Both had lawyers. Both had statements. Arthur glared. This isn't about race or money or youth. He said, it's about principle. Keanu calmly replied, then your principles are broken. The room fell silent. Keanu didn't raise his voice, didn't attack. He just spoke his truth. He explained what the kids had done, how they'd taken a mistake and turned it into something good, how he had once been a boy without a home, how people like Arthur made life harder for those already struggling. His closing words were simple. If welcoming 3 respectful teenagers into my backyard makes me a nuisance, then so be it. But I'd rather be a nuisance with a heart than a neighbor without one. The result, Arthur lost. The complaint was dismissed, and the judge even added a note, in this world, we need more people who open doors, not close them. Back at home, Keanu didn't celebrate with champagne or a party. He lit a fire by the pool, brought out marshmallows, and sat with Maya, Josh, and Lucy, telling stories under the stars. Maya leaned her head on Keanu's shoulder. You didn't have to fight for us. Keanu smiled. But I wanted to. She asked, why? He looked up at the sky. Because someone once fought for me, when I didn't think I was worth it. And just when it felt like this story had finally come full circle, a black SUV pulled up near the house. A man stepped out. Someone Keanu hadn't seen in over 20 years. And what he had to say would shake Keanu to the core. Full circle. Black SUV idled near the driveway, its engine soft but steady. Keanu stood slowly, his hands tightening around the blanket that was still draped over his lap. Maya, Josh, and Lucy turned their heads toward the headlights, their laughter fading into silence. A tall man stepped out. Gray at the temples, clean-shaven, suit slightly wrinkled like he'd been sitting in it for too long. He didn't look angry or scared, just determined, like someone who had finally worked up the courage to face something from his past. Keanu walked toward him. You, he said softly. I haven't seen you since we were 23. The man finished. Maya whispered, who is that? Keanu didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed on the man. His name is Raymond, he finally said. We used to live on the same street. Back when I was just a kid with nothing. Raymond gave a nod. You were always different, he said. Quiet, kept to yourself. But you helped my brother when he broke his arm on that old fence. You carried him for blocks. No questions asked. Keanu remembered. I wasn't trying to be kind, he said. I was just the only one there. Exactly, Raymond said. And that's why I'm here. They sat in the backyard, under soft lights, the kids quiet but alert. Sensing this moment was something sacred. Raymond took a breath. I saw the news, the lawsuit, the speech. I've followed everything. And I realized I've been living on the edge of comfort, doing nothing. My brother always said you were the only one who showed up when it mattered. And I never thank you. Keanu shook his head. You don't need to. But I do, Raymond said. Because for the first time, I see what it means to actually show up. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded document. I want to help. I own a piece of property a few blocks from here. It's been sitting empty. Old community center. I want to fix it up. Turn it into something, anything that gives these kids a place to feel seen. And I want you to help run it. Keanu blinked. Double quotes what? You know what they need. I've got the building, the funds, but no heart. Not like you. Keanu looked at Maya, Josh, Lucy. Their eyes were wide. We could turn it into a creative space, Maya said, her voice suddenly full of hope. Art, music, even just somewhere quiet, and tutoring. Lucy added, I could teach art and food. Josh grinned. I know some people who cook for shelters. We could offer warm meals. Raymond smiled. Then it's settled. The months that followed were filled with work. but not the kind of work that drained you. The kind that made you feel alive. The community center became real. They painted walls with murals, set up bean bags and bookshelves, filled the kitchen with snacks, built a tiny stage for open mic nights. Keanu donated equipment, cameras, laptops, even an old guitar signed by someone legendary. People started showing up, not just kids, but parents, volunteers, old neighbors who wanted to be part of something good. Maya gave a speech at the opening night. She stood on the stage, holding the microphone with shaking hands. A year ago, she said, "I was climbing over a fence in the dark, just to feel like I belonged somewhere. I didn't expect kindness. I expected to get kicked out. But instead, I met someone who didn't slam the door. He opened it wider." She looked at Keanu. He was standing near the back of the crowd, hands in his pockets, eyes full. "Now," she said, "we get to leave the gate open for everyone else." Arthur Wendell moved out 6 months later. No one missed him. Mrs. Ellis became the center's most passionate volunteer. She baked cookies for every kid who walked through the door. Lucy won a scholarship to study design. Josh got accepted into a music program. Maya, she started organizing neighborhood events, safe, clean, and full of laughter. And every Friday evening, like clockwork, they met at Keanu's pool. Not to sneak in, not to escape, but to remember. Because sometimes the most unexpected places, like a stranger's backyard, can become the beginning of something bigger than anyone imagined. One night, as the sun dipped low and the sky turned orange, Keanu sat alone at the edge of the pool, watching the light dance across the water. Maya came and sat beside him. "You ever regret letting us in?" she asked. He smiled. "No," he said. "I regret not opening the gate sooner." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Me too." They sat in silence for a while. The pool, the laughter, the light, everything was peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, Keanu felt something rare. Home.